Welcome back to Jenny's World, keeping it fresh, keeping it real, and definitely keeping it middle-aged. Now don't forget to follow me on Instagram and Twitter, and also subscribe to my YouTube channel, Jenny's World. And while you're at it, take a look at my website. Lots of good stuff on there, good informational stuff and things that will keep you going. As always, details down below in the description box. Now today, I'm going to try and talk about something light, something different, as I feel all I've been talking about recently has been COVID-19. And actually that's all there is to talk about because there's not much happening. So today I'm just going to try and lighten the atmosphere, lighten the mood a bit and talk about life at home under this lockdown. Now, we've all had to work from home or not work from home if you've been so lucky. I've been working from home, I've had the grandkids around, we had Easter and I had some time off. So I spent quite a bit of time with the kids doing their schoolwork. And I'm quite impressed actually, we were maybe able to get them to do 3 hours a day. And apart from the youngest one, Aaliyah, who's 6, she tends to get bored really easily. They've really been doing it and keeping up with it. But what has amazed me is that there's not a need for them to kind of like do anything else. We hear from them every now and again, can I go outside? Why can't I go outside? And it's like, you can go outside in the garden. I don't want to go out. I want to go to shops. You can't go to the shops. But they've accepted that. And they've just gone on and they've kind of like they've been watching TV on their laptops. And one of their key things they're doing now is TikTok, which I find funny and amusing. The youngest one, I think, is more obsessed with it. And then she keeps coming in and showing videos that she's done on it. And I'm just like, wow. And she goes, yeah, I posted that. And Mum says, what? Take it off, take it down. So they're really finding really good ways to keep themselves amused. And I feel as though it's probably more the adults who are struggling to keep themselves going during this time. And we all know, we've just heard that the lockdown's been extended for another 3 weeks. And I feel as though my daughter is definitely going to be the one who's going to go crazy first. I feel as though I'm on break from work, so I'm enjoying it and not having to think about work. I've only got a couple more days left and I've got to go back to work. But I feel for my daughter, she gets it from the girls if they get bored and want something, and then she's just sitting around. It's like, come on, think of something to do. And she's like, well, what can I do? And it's just like, that's all we talk about really is COVID-19. And there's not a lot happening out there. So everything is closed. You can't go anywhere. You're really restricted. And there is those conversations when one of us have gone out to do shopping is it's so different out there. I mean, I went to Sainsbury's the other day for our weekly shop. And I had in my head a list of things that I needed to get. But when I actually got in the store, it was just so surreal. It is just really strange. Having the markers where you have to stay 2 feet apart. And you got some people doing it, some people not. And I found myself just wanting to get out there, get out of that store as quickly as possible. And it's just not a nice situation. And I really feel for the workers who are still in there, because they're not really observing this 2 foot distance. I was down the wine aisle, as I think you need to have a drink every now and again to keep yourself going. And one of the people there was stocking the shelves, and he was just moving between people. And it's like, I'm trying myself and go 2 feet, 2 feet. And he's just going backwards and forwards. I thought, let me get out of here. Let me just kind of like leave this aisle. And you've got some people who are consciously trying to avoid you, which is good, they're trying to do that 2 foot distance. But your everyday shopping now is no longer fun. I'm saying going to the supermarket was fun, but you go in, you get your bits and you come out. But now it feels even more like a chore. So where you can go to get out of the house, you just don't want to be there. And then you kind of like stuck back in the house and it's like, what else can you do? I mean, as I said before, we've got a garden, we're very lucky we can go out there. The weather's turned, it's been a bit rainy for the last few weeks, but you still got that element where you can go out. And for me, it's like, okay, well, what's on TV? What can we watch? And it's just like, can you believe I'm like watching Tipping Point? And actually, go through the crashes. I think, oh God, how sad is this? And then you go look at the movies. There's nothing good out there. You go on Netflix and you think, oh, let me go and watch an old TV program from years ago. And then like, there's not that great after all. And it's just like, you're just flicking through and there's so many repeats. And it's like, Okay, what else can we watch? There's like, I don't know how many times I've watched Avengers Infinity, Avengers Endgame. And whenever my daughter comes in and it's on, she just turns around and walks out of the room. And I don't know, I've just watched so many things again and again. I just think, how are we going to cope with 3 more weeks of this? Not a lot of people really want to go out. And when you do see people going out, it's very restricted. You have the parents with some of the kids, or you just have people on their own, and it's just like nobody really wants to look at you. Obviously you're keeping that distance, and it's just like, even if you need to get something quickly from the corner shop, there's a reluctance to go. So we've got 3 more weeks of this, and you've got to think about those people who are at home with no garden, and those people live on their own. It's just like, how tough must it be for them? I mean, some people I've spoken to have said that actually, because they live on their own, they're used to it, so this is nothing new for them. Other people are quite frustrated that they can't go out, they can't see their friends, can't see their family. And yeah, we can say you can Skype and you can talk, but it's just not the same. It's just not the same as having that interaction. And I think that's the thing that people are missing. That's the thing that, is really pushing people to the breaking point. It's like, how do you cope when you get to that point where you've had enough? Because what can you do? You can't leave the house. Or you can if you go for your daily exercise, or if you do your weekly shopping. But there's only so many things you can do, and if you're going out for an hour, you've got to be mindful. It's just like, you're going to get stopped by the police. I mean, luckily in our area, I've very rarely seen the police. I've heard their sirens going backwards and forwards, but I've very rarely seen them out. The times I have gone out, there's not that many people out. There's certainly no groups out. And we've all read in the news where they were on one of the bridges recently, and they were clapping for the NHS workers, but there's like congregations of them, and you saw the police there doing nothing. But in other reports, if you've got 2 or 3 people, the police are dispersing you. So it seems to be as though, people are desperate to get out, desperate for that interaction. But one of the things I'm thinking about is what's going to happen when we are eventually allowed out. Are we going to just see people rushing out to restaurants, to cinemas, to pubs? I mean, what is life going to be like after lockdown? And how eager are we all actually going to be to go out? Because how do we know? How do we really know when this pandemic is over? How do we know if that we can, when we get to the point they say you can go out, how do we know how safe it's going to be? And I remember before the pandemic, you used to have tourists coming over, mainly Chinese tourists, and they would have their face masks on. And I always used to wonder, why do they have that? And obviously for them, coming from China was something they did anyway. But is that going to be a result of this pandemic in London, in the UK? Are we going to have people who are now seeing the normal thing as wearing face masks? Is that going to be the normal? Are we now going to, this social distancing, is this going to continue once the lockdown ends? Because from what's going on and what's been reported by the medical professions is that social distancing will probably continue post-lockdown. There's different time frames as to when that lockdown will happen. We heard the other day that will be at least 3 weeks, at least another 3 weeks. We've heard perhaps that there will be a phasing of people being allowed to leave the house, that perhaps children who have exams will be one of the first to go, and maybe children going back to school. And to me, I'm thinking, hold a minute, why are we sacrificing our young ones? Or why are they being the ones who get to go out first and test what's out there? And we already know, and it's really been said, that children tend to be harbingers of this disease. They have it, they don't have any symptoms, and they're the ones who can spread it on, yet they're the ones who are going to be the first ones out. I kind of understand that mentality that the teenagers who have their exams coming out, if you're at university and have exams, that they want them to sit them. But again, come back to the question, how do we know when it's really safe to do? So I just think there's going to be so many questions, so many changes to what we used to see as the norm. And how do you survive through that? And there are questions that we can't answer, that I can't answer. I'm just speculating. It could just be me thinking these things. But another 3 weeks being at home, not having to actually travel to go to work. But then the implications are you can't see your family, you can't see your friends. You have to kind of like have that still social distancing. You can only leave your house occasionally. I mean, I think I've been at the point now where I've been leaving the house once a week, maybe sometimes twice a week if I've taken the dog for a walk. But again, it's very much of everybody wants to observe the rules. Everybody wants this to be over. But what will life be like when it's over? And these are only questions that I think that can be answered once it happens. And we're literally, as I said, middle of April, towards the end of April. We've got 3 more weeks. We're going to be into mid-May. Then another conversation within government as to whether or not we can finish the lockdown or continue. Speculation, as I said, that it may continue. There may be a phased approach. I mean, how much longer can this go on? And what are the implications for children? I mean, they've been at home since early March. We're going to be in May, mid-May at the earliest. If they're able to go back, probably not. So then they don't go back until September. And they've missed a good 6 months of the year. So one of the grandkids is in year 1, one of the grandkids is in year 4. Are they repeating that part of their year, or are they going to have to go to the next year with gaps in their knowledge? I know we're all doing our best to do homeschooling, but I know for a fact that I'm probably not doing anywhere close to what their teachers would be doing, or probably covering enough of the material in the right way that it's actually sinking in for them. And then what about the older kids who've got their GCSEs, A-levels, you know, and their degrees, everything they're studying for? How does life pick back up for them? And then let's talk about us. Let's talk about how do we get back? How do we reintegrate ourselves into the world? I, for one of the things I'm missing, and I was really quite lucky, I think, is I regularly go and see my hairdresser every 3 weeks. Get my hair done, and I saw her the week before the lockdown was announced, I saw her I think 2 weeks before the lockdown announced, and then she said she was not able to do it until May. Now I'm thinking, I know she's always busy, she always has loads of people queuing up to see. I'm thinking, well, what am I going to get? How am I going to get seen? At what point? How are you picking people to be the first ones to get their hair done again? And I, for one, desperately need my hair doing. Yeah, I kind of like every day I see the greys fighting their way out. And Malia, the youngest, says, Nanny, your hair's all white. And it's like, okay, thanks for that. So my daughter, she's always saying, I need to get my nails done. Yeah, and it's just little things. And these are things which we all took for granted and that we've put on hold. And it hasn't been too much of an issue. You know, you can do your own nails, you can do your own hair. Maybe not the same way as the professionals, but you can get it done. But these are the little things that I, for one, have missed, and I'm looking forward to getting it back up. But again, it's like, how much of our lives will change the way we interact? And, you know, everybody now is talking on the phone or talking on Skype or FaceTiming. And especially the older generation, the ones who perhaps didn't embrace Skype or FaceTime, and they're now embracing it because that's the only way they can communicate with their families. So we're going to see this whole generational shift into modern technology. Something that wasn't happening very quickly. And again, let's kind of like think of other things. I know for one, some of my work colleagues, well, definitely one of my work colleagues didn't have the internet. And they had to do that. Obviously, there's lots of people who had to work from home and may not have had the internet and might have been hotspotting or whatever it is they're doing. So there's certain definite winners in as a result of the situation we find ourselves in. So whether it's your internet provider, your mobile provider, whoever, and even if you think Disney Plus, they launched, I think, tail end of last year. And I think it was a couple of weeks ago, they had reached, I think it was 50 or 60 million subscribers. And that was in the space of 6 months, I think it was. And they weren't projected to get there for, I think, a year or so. And I think there was reports that another company, I forget the name, it took them something like 5 or 10 years to hit 60 million subscribers. But Disney launched at the right time, and obviously people are at home and there's nothing for them to do. They can't go to the cinema, and they all just kind of like subscribe to Disney. I, for one, I have my own website, as I keep kind of like trying to promote it, www.jennysworld.co.uk. And on one of my blogs that I wrote on there, talked about activities. It was around Easter, things to keep the kids entertained while we're at home, but also things that you could do outside of Easter, beyond Easter. And one of the things I said was, just have a family day of movies and rotate it so every day somebody gets to choose or watch whatever films they want to do. And one of the things I said is that, Disney Plus is new. They're doing an offer and it's $5.99 a month. If you've not got Sky, if you've not got Netflix, if you've not got Now TV, if you've not got something that allows you to watch these movies, I was recommending Disney Plus. I'm not sure how many people took it up, but can you imagine if you didn't have any of those shows, Sky, Netflix, Now TV, whatever, to watch movies, and then you saw being promoted Disney Plus at $5.99 and you're known you're going to be stuck at home for weeks and weeks, wouldn't you subscribe? I certainly would. I mean, I'm kind of like thinking about it now. We have Sky, we have Netflix, but I swear we've seen most of the movies out there. So I'm kind of thinking, maybe Disney Plus, they've got a whole backlog of a movie. So as I said, there are some winners out there as a result of this pandemic. Companies that have just happened to be in the right time, right place, right time, have been able to grow their businesses. I definitely think that I don't know, it always seems to be that us, the consumers, are probably the ones who have been the losers. Obviously, you're at home more often, so your electricity, your water, your gas, all these things that we have to pay for are being used more and more because there's more people at home, your electric's on. I know the girls, oh my goodness, how many lights can they have on in the room? They forget that it's on. And it's, when it was raining every day and it's pretty cold, you turn the heating on, so your gas bills are going to be higher. You're just using more gas because you're probably cooking more. So, our own daily bills, our daily lives are increasing what we do at home and how we go about it. So I think that staying at home during this lockdown, there's winners and losers. And I think from a family perspective, it's probably a good opportunity for people to get closer to bond. In the same breath, it could have the opposite effect. And some people want to be away from their loved ones and their families for a certain amount of time, just to be themselves, just to kind of have that bit of relief. And I'm sure from a child's point of view, whether you're 5, 10 or 16 or 21, not being around your family 24/7 is probably quite a blessing, and then having to come back to the family home from university, etc., is a change, something you weren't expecting. So again, there's, as I said, there's winners and losers, and we know there's people who are less fortunate, who are not in stable or good relationships, where being at home is a crisis for them, is a nightmare. And I can only hope that they're being able to keep as safe as possible. Children who are in vulnerable situations at home, this is not the best time for them. And I don't know how they're keeping themselves well and keeping themselves active without being around perhaps a destructive relationship, a destructive family environment. So there's so many different connotations for this virus that has happened. I mean, we have lockdown. I think a lot of people take it as an opportunity to just chill with the family and relax. Not everybody has that option. Not everybody has that safety net at home. So there's so many different outcomes of this, and I just feel as though when we do eventually get the go-ahead that it's all over and our lives can return back to normal, I just don't think they will return to normal. I think that there'd be a different normal for everybody. I mean, again, if you think about anybody who's trying that dating scene out there, it's like, how are you doing? How is that working? And all these dating apps are probably doing really well. But as I said, we've got to do what we can to keep ourselves entertained and to keep ourselves going. In this household, I think we're doing a pretty good job. The kids forever seem to be entertained, and I think perhaps they're at that right age. As I said, Aaliyah, the youngest, she's got enough to keep her going. She's got enough of her toys to go. Adeshana, the oldest, she's at that age. She's 9, so she's happy to be on her laptop, to be playing her games and all of that. And they have the TV as a backup. And they come to myself and my daughter as and when they need. Normally if they want something to eat or drink. But they're doing well, and they haven't really missed not being at school, which, as I said, I find quite surprising. I thought they would be the ones who would go perhaps a little bit stir crazy first, but hopefully their attitude will continue. If they're not going to be back at school until September, it's going to be a very long few months for myself and my daughter, keeping them entertained, because eventually their attitude and goodwill will run out, and we're going to have to then adopt that ability to go out once a day to keep them maintained. So eventually the garden's going to run out of hope and existence for them. As I said, I'm back to work next week. I've got a few more days off before being thrown into the thick of things. So my life will pretty much continue on as normal. And my daughters will just continue on as keeping us all maintained and hydrated and fed. So I hope that everybody out there is doing well. I hope that we're all looking after each other as best we can and being good people, good neighbours, good friends. And if you do know somebody who's not in the best place as a result of their home life, please ensure you reach out to them, talk to them, just let them know they're not alone, and that, you know, even though you can't be with them, that you're thinking of them, and that they can just try and hold on. So I hope that things aren't as bad as we imagine it is for those people in those situations, and we can just do what we can do. So I did try and keep this light and very different from the other videos that I've done, which have been very depressing, because that's the world out there. So I'm going to end it here, and as always, thank you for watching. Now, thank you again, and don't forget, keeping it fresh, keeping it real, and definitely keeping it middle-aged.